Okay, so last week, we'll do a quick recap. Last week, we were talking about Joseph a lot, mostly, and I just still think it must have been very interesting for Potiphar's wife after she was chasing after him, after he ended up in prison. Actually, Jared's been studying the book of Jasher. So it says in that book that the reason that Joseph went to prison and wasn't executed was because they looked at his coat to see where the tear was. And they were able to see that he was on his way out. And that's when the coat tore, like on his way out, instead of like towards her, coming after her, and that's how she got his coat.
Right.
So he wasn't exonerated, but because of course you can't be nasty to Potiphar's wife, so he still had to go to prison, even though it was shown that he wasn't pursuing her. So that's an interesting. Hi, Mother. We just started. We were just talking
Hi.
about Potiphar's
Hey,
wife.
Kathy.
Hi.
So, and then of course Joseph's mother, or Joseph's brothers, came to him because of the famine. And one of my favorite parts is that Joseph saw how God used his unfortunate circumstances to preserve his whole family. So even though Joseph went to prison and had to experience all of that stuff, he could see how God used everything that he had gone through in order to preserve his family, Jacob's family, Israel's family, through the famine that happened in Egypt. And also Joseph had to mature in order to receive his blessings. So he received the dreams that he had when he was younger, that all of his brothers would bow down to him, and he went around like a little, you know, puffed up jerk saying, "Oh, you guys are all going to bow down to me." And then that's what essentially pissed him off and had him throw him into a hole and rip his coat up and all that. But then again, God matured him into that blessing. And another thing that was interesting as well is the Israelites still flourished while they were in slavery. So then all of the Israelites were taken into slavery, and they still flourished, and that made the Pharaoh nervous, and told the two midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, that they had to kill all of the firstborn Hebrew children, because the Pharaoh didn't want the Hebrew people to become a threat to him and his people. And again, it's evident all throughout the scriptures that God's people are blessed, and people can look at God's people and see that they are blessed. So the other thing about the two women, Shiphrah and Puah, like most of our ladies that we've been studying throughout, they feared God more than they feared man. Like we noticed that with Sarah, when she went off with Pharaoh after Abraham told everybody he was her sister. And same with Isaac's wife, Rachel. Oh, was it Rachel? No, it wasn't Rachel. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But anyways, she was taken off too, and she didn't speak against her husband. She knew that she would be taken care of. So these midwives as well, they knew that God would take care of them, and they refused to kill the Hebrew children. And when the Pharaoh came and said, "Why are there still all of these Hebrew children around?" And she said, "Because the Hebrew women are just so fast with their labor that I can't even get out there in time to dispose of the children before, well, they've already been born." So God saw their faithfulness and rewarded them, Shiphrah and Puah. So we'll start reading in Exodus 2. Now a man of the house of Levi, the priestly tribe, went out and took as his wife a daughter of Levi. Again, this was the custom at the time. The woman conceived and gave birth to a son, and when she saw that he was especially beautiful and healthy, she hid him for 3 months to protect him from the Egyptians. So yeah, Levi is the priestly tribe. Levi means joined to. Um, and the first thing I thought of when I was reading about this woman who believes that her child was especially beautiful and healthy, the first thing I thought was, don't all women? Like I know that I've seen plenty of unattractive babies that women are like, oh, look at my cute little baby, and I'm like, oh yeah, super cute.
I've seen my share of them.
Cute baby. So
fortunately, mine were all beautiful.
Of course, yes.
They really were. Don't you think so, Donna?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So,
anyway.
So yeah, she thought her baby was exceptional, so decided to hide him. And I'm not sure, maybe the other women were finding some sort of safe passage out of Israel for their children, but this woman decided to hide her baby. And that's another thing that I'm thinking about. How do you hide a baby for 3 months so that nobody can hear the baby crying and nobody sees the baby? But she did. So her name, I'm not sure when it's, or even if it's mentioned, but her name is Jochbed, which means God is glory. That's Moses. Well, this is Moses, so that's his mother's name. So verse 3, when she could no longer hide him, she got him a basket made of papyrus reeds and covered it with tar and pitch, making it waterproof. Then she put the child in it and set it among the reeds in the bank of the Nile. And his sister Miriam, which is what we translate to Mary, which my favorite meaning of that name is rebellious sea. So I like that. It means a lot of different things, as most names do, but so that's Miriam, his sister. So she goes out to the reeds to some distance away to find out what would happen to him, her brother. Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the Nile, and she, together with her maidens, walked along the river bank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to get it, and she brought it to her. When she opened it, she saw a child, and behold, the baby was crying. And she took pity on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. And it's interesting to think whether Pharaoh's daughter thought that that this baby was supposed to be killed, that this was what the mother did, thinking the baby would end up dying, or yeah, it's interesting to think about what she might have thought about that. And then also I'm assuming that the same as like in the movie, the 10 Commandments, that the baby had a blanket with Hebrew print, so she would be able to tell that it was in fact a Hebrew child. So then his sister, verse 7, then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go call a wet nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse your child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go ahead. So the girl went and called the child's mother, her mother. So again, just fun little things. So the woman took the child and nursed him, and the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, and said, because I drew him out of the water. And Moses means drawn. And it is a Hebrew name. So she chose a Hebrew name for this child that she was going to raise as her own as an Egyptian. So that's a fun thing. And from what it sounds like, he was raised or weaned at least in his mother's house. So that's a fun thing as well. So yeah, as I said, because I drew him out of the water, that's named Moses. So
So
this.
do you think that he stayed with his actual mother
Yeah,
that whole time, and
yeah.
then once he was weaned, then he went?
I do
Oh
think
wow.
that. I do think that. I think there was also contact, I'm sure, with Pharaoh's daughter that there would be sharing of the child. But yeah, I believe that for the most part he was raised in his actual house. So
Wow.
it's clever. Um,
Very clever.
so then we jump right to 11, which is when Moses had grown. So one day after Moses had grown into adulthood, I mean, I guess I'll talk a little bit about what it would be like for Moses to grow up Egyptian. So the Egyptians were very well versed in all of the cultures, in all of the languages. It's said that there's 70 root languages, and I guess this goes back to our friend Joseph too. Neither of which are women, but they're born of women, so we'll talk about them. So Pharaoh knew, it said that there's 70 root languages of all of the people in all of the world, just the same as when God divided the nations into 70 nations. Each of them have a root language that was developed at the Tower of Babel when God confused all the people's languages. So the pharaohs would know these 70 root languages, and when you speak to the pharaohs as a person of well culturedness, you would stand on whichever step was the number of how many languages you knew. So if you knew 30 languages, you'd go up to the 30th step, and then the pharaoh would stand on the 31st step and talk down to you. If you knew 7 languages, you go to the 7th step, and the pharaoh would go to the 8th step and talk down to you. So when Pharaoh had his disturbing dream, when we were speaking about Joseph, and I forget who it was, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker said, "Oh yeah, we met this guy when we were imprisoned, and he's good at interpreting dreams." Um, all of the pharaoh's soothsayers and magicians and whatever were probably snickering, thinking, well, he's a Hebrew, he only knows like 1 or 2 languages at best, so what's he going to do, come talk to Pharaoh? But little beknownst to them, again, this is revealed in the book of Jasher, which Jared's studying, that an angel came to Joseph the night before, and he gave him like this big download of all of the languages. So then Joseph knew all of the languages. When he approached Pharaoh, he was able to go up to the 70th step and speak with Pharaoh directly, like one on one. So
Okay.
the reason that I'm bringing that up now for Moses is Moses would have been raised as Pharaoh's daughter's son. So he would have been instructed in not just all of the languages, but then again, a lot of the technologies that we today would label as magic, because they were more technologically advanced than we were. There's some ancient stones that have been cut out with such precision that we couldn't even do it with the best lasers today. And other ones are so heavy and large, and they're stacked so precisely one on top of each other in perfect angles, perfect fits, that we don't even have equipment to do anything like that today. So recognizing that the Egyptians were very well versed in things that we're not aware of. So those are the things that Moses has been trained in, or yeah, right, because he's grown now, that he's been trained in as Egyptian royalty. So then that again will be disseminated throughout all of the Jewish people through Moses, kind of to the best of his ability, right? Because it's a lot of knowledge to transfer. So that was a side note rabbit hole. So back to Exodus 2 verse 11. One day after Moses had grown into adulthood, it happened that he went to his countrymen and looked with compassion at their hard labor. So that's the Hebrew people.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his countrymen. He turned to look around, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. He went out the next day and saw two Hebrew men fighting with each other, and he said to the aggressor, "Why are you striking your friend?" But the man said, "Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and said, "Certainly this incident is known." So he became aware that everybody knew, which again is interesting because he's technically the son of Pharaoh's daughter. So usually people of that esteem are above reproach. So people like that are usually able to do whatever they want without any fear of repercussion, similar to today. Now the priest
Yeah,
of
but still, those two Hebrew men that confronted him, if they would have seen him kill a fellow Egyptian, they would have been stunned by that. Because,
right,
like you said,
yeah,
yeah, two Egyptians,
right, right,
why would one kill the other?
right, yep, yeah, it's true. I mean, he wouldn't have looked like an Egyptian either, though. So, oh, I'm trying to remember. Hold on, it's right on the tip of my tongue. So in Hawaii, they have like it starts with an H. It's like adopted children, where they will take care of like somebody's. It's hanai is the term for it. So they'll call it their hanai child. So it may be their sister's child, and she's having a hard time. So I'm gonna raise this child as my own. So this is my hanai child. And it actually, we went to one of the last castle places in Kona last week, and even the royalty had hanai children. So it was children from people that could even be considered commoners, that through whatever circumstances they would raise as their own, and then they would be afforded all of the liberties and the benefits of being part of a royal family. So that's what would have happened here with Moses, that he would have also been afforded all of those liberties. And I'm assuming that he could have certainly said that, I exerted my authority over this guard. He was out of line, and I took care of it. But maybe not, because I'm sure that they also had rules against murder and trials, and they were pretty sophisticated. So
Right. Well, the Hebrew man must have told his Hebrew brother and what had happened.
right, yeah, well, yeah, so somebody,
they knew about it,
right,
but Moses didn't think anybody saw it. So,
well, and again, so the Hebrews are God's people. So how did they know? Maybe how did anybody know if Moses looked around and didn't see anybody?
right.
So I would say that's just another testament to God speaks with us and tells us things. But
Right.
okay, so he's afraid. And I guess rightfully so, because then it says, when Pharaoh heard about this matter, he tried to kill Moses. And then Moses fled from Pharaoh's presence and took refuge in the land of Midian, where he sat down by a well. So thinking about the ladies in our study, for Moses's mother, so she was able to raise him up until they probably did wean their children later technically than we do. So he was probably between 3 and 5, and then she was able to raise him, and then it doesn't say, but possibly was able to be his nanny afterwards, maybe, because but I'm not sure. So just thinking about what that would be like for Moses's mother to do such a thing, and then also for Pharaoh's daughter to raise this child that obviously wasn't Egyptian because they look different, and she wasn't pregnant. So, but just to think about what that could have been like for her to catch some kind of flack from her Egyptian fellow people, and then also, just thinking about, as Moses is growing, how much was his mother involved in his raising, or was she only allowed to watch from a distance, because the Hebrews didn't really associate too much with the Egyptians in any event other than like slave and slave master. So um, that must have been a challenging event. And it's like anything else though, in those kind of situations where it's a difficult situation for everybody, but then you have people that are naturally kind-hearted, which obviously Pharaoh's daughter was one of them, where you have people that, even though everybody else is going around behaving, like a jackrabbit, you're going to stay on the right path and do the right thing. So obviously there's people that will do the right thing. So I would say, from what I can glean from what the scriptures say, that Pharaoh's daughter most likely invited probably her and her daughter into the home to assist with Moses's upbringing, and then Moses, I'm sure, could make a decision on his own after he was an adult if he wanted to leave and go spend time with his mother. Which, again, did she tell Moses that she was his mother? Did she
Right.
share that
Or he could just do her
information?
as nanny.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Or did maybe his sister let it slip one day? When they were having some kind of a little kid fight. Well, if it wasn't for me, you would have just kept floating down the river. Wait a minute, what? So,
Right.
yeah, it's fun to explore what those interactions might be like, and um, just to be grateful for people like Pharaoh's wife, that even though she probably caught a little bit of stuff for raising a Hebrew child, because Moses knew he was Hebrew, right? Because he said that he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, his kinsman. So he knew that was his line. He knew that he didn't come from an Egyptian line, even though he was raised the same as an actual daughter of Pharaoh. So it's cool to kind of peel that apart. Let's see, do I want to go a little bit further here? So Pharaoh tried to kill him. He went to Midian. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and stop there for this week, and then we can pick up next week with Moses' next lady.